Welcome to the Oroville City Council meeting of January 4th, 2022, where we are reconvening from closed session where direction was given and no action was taken. Calling this meeting to order. Will you stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance? Salute. Pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States and to the republic for which it
stands. Looking for a motion to adopt the agenda.
I move that we adopt the agenda.
Second.
Motion carries with 7 yeses and 0 nos.
Okay, at this time, we will open the meeting up for public communications. This is the time for us to hear on non-agenda items. Madam Clerk, are there any speakers?
Mr. Mayor, I have 2 speakers. The first speaker is the cameraman.
Good evening, Oroville City Council. Happy New Year to all of you. Glad to see you're all smiling and get ready to start the new year. I'm glad to start on a positive note. At the end of December 10th, if you all remember, I was making a big deal about that date. Well, I hate to disappoint all of you, but unfortunately, I didn't get a courtroom. I didn't get to see a judge. I just got handed a little paper saying you're free to go, which is good. But I was hoping, there was surprisingly a 0 turnout, which, beggars can't be choosers, really. But, so no charges, cases not authorized at this time. So that's the status of that. But I will still be pursuing the matter. I mean, now that there's no charges to be authorized at this time, there's nothing to investigate, so I should be able to get the records I requested. Re-requested. I put in an original request and they were denied because of active investigation. Now I'm re-requesting them, so I'm hoping I'll be able to get those. I spoke to Jackie. She said she spoke to her people and they're going to get back to her. So, records take time. I mean, it was the end of December, so, can't really fault them for being around the holidays. Really light agenda tonight. Nothing really else to really comment on other than that. But I do look forward to this new year. Again, keeping the city accountable and really promoting a healthy environment with our public officials. I have big hopes for this new constitutional republic and, Happy New Year and let's kick off 2022 strong.
Our next speaker is Stephanie Holstein.
Happy New Year, City Council members and members of the public. As you'll remember, probably the first time you met me was announcing our Levee community walk. And so far it's been a really big success. I wanted to update you on that and also let everyone know that we're going to be having winter hours starting at 10:30. It started to get a little chilly in the morning and we don't want to risk anyone being exposed and getting sick or having any ill effects from coming out and joining the community. So if anyone is available, we're starting those hours as of January 8th, this Saturday at 10:30. We meet at Mugshots, which is the coffee shop right here downtown. And sometimes we'll be going either towards Bedrock Park or we'll be going under the bridge towards the Nature Center. No one is asked to pick up trash, but we do pick up trash when we do it. Our past events have been great the last few weeks since I've seen you. One time we picked up 200 pounds of trash, which was amazing. And that was on the way to the Nature Center. So we had a big turnout. A lot of people came. And it's such a fun time for everyone to get together. And people are getting to know each other and just chat and really feel like a community and enjoying that Levee space, which is just, it's so gorgeous. So we're just having such a great time kind of revitalizing that space and letting everyone feel like they're welcome to be there safely and in a great place to commune with their fellow neighbors. So thank you very much for your time. Happy New Year's, everyone. And I hope I get to see you out there one of these days. 10:30, the new winter hours in the morning. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, that is the last of the public speakers for non-agenda items.
With that, we will close public communication, and I'm looking for a motion to adopt the consent calendar.
Mr. Mayor, respectfully, I'd like to pull item number 7.
Looking for a motion to adopt the consent calendar, pulling item number 7.
So moved.
Second.
Motion carries with 7 yeses and 0 nos.
Mr. Legron, you pulled item number 7 from the consent calendar. Do you wish to comment?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. We are advising Councilman Hatley to recuse himself from this item due to the proximity of his personal home.
So do we have any comments on this item?
Mr. Mayor, I do not have any public comment on this item.
Any comments from this dais? Having none, I'm looking for a motion to adopt item number 7, proposed annexation of territory into the city's assessment districts.
So moved. I'll second.
Motion carries with 6 yeses and 1 recused.
Moving on to regular business, item number 9, Housing Program Fund Loan for Veteran Village Apartments.
Sorry, here, I'll do it.
You're on.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Tonight, I'm asking you to consider extending the exclusive negotiating agreement with VHDC until January 31st, 2023 to develop affordable housing for veterans and their families. Also, we're asking you to consider the transfer of a newly developed over 3-acre property that's currently part of the city's courtyard in order to develop the multifamily project. I have, is it Brad online or Tori?
I've requested to promote them and they won't promote. It just says HCCBC Butte County.
Okay. If you have any additional questions, they're here. But in November of 2019, council approved the ENA with VHCC to transfer 8 residential properties to rehabilitate or newly construct units for affordable income veterans, and these are single-family homes. There were multiple projects. They were going to do 3 phases, 5 single-family homes that they would rehabilitate using Home Depot funds and Salvation Army funds that they would turn around and sell to income-qualified veterans. And the second phase was 2 vacant residential lots and 1 commercial lot that they would build for single-family homes. The commercial lot has been rezoned to allow for duplex condo-type homes that would be sold to income-eligible veterans, and we're expecting plans within the coming months for that project. Lastly, this project on Mitchell, where they want to develop two 30-unit multifamily projects. It's 2 buildings, and these are fully supportive projects where they'll provide services for at-risk veterans and their families. And the approximate value of the transfer is about $400,000. Do you have any?
Mr. Mayor and Council, if I can, just to give you a little bit of background on this. This property was originally flattened under the at the request of the North Valley Community Foundation to provide housing for the victims of the Paradise Fire. That never came to fruition. It was not needed for that. So after we had that property flattened, we're in talks with the veterans, and this property came up as a potential location for this type of housing. This is for the veterans that have served our country and are in need of affordable housing at this time. One of the additional products of this is the solar farm that we've put in front of that housing, which fronts Mitchell Street. It's very tall and elevated. The purpose of that is essentially to provide electricity, of course, but also it's a shade structure. What our intent is to pave that and include that as additional parking for the Harrison Stadium downtown. Traditionally, one of the problems with Harrison Stadium has been there's not adequate parking. So it makes it very difficult to attract larger events and things like that to that facility because of the lack of parking. So in conjunction with this veteran village that we're having built back there, we are also going to be paving that as part of the trade with the veterans for this property in this location. So we've essentially taken land that the city had that we were sitting on that was landlocked, that was essentially just cobble piles, and turned it into three actual very functional things that serve the city well. One will be the veterans housing. The other is the solar farm, which I can tell you is running, I believe, at 60% capacity, and it's providing 100% of the electrical needs for the city. So we still have 40% capacity growth in our solar farm that we have down there, but it's also going to provide critical parking for a piece of infrastructure for the city that will attract and economically develop our city.
But I also noticed I presented the item that was on consent, not the actual item that I'm supposed to present. It's the same project, but this is actually a loan request of theirs for $1,750,000. And this is to help develop and close the gap with the funding. So we received a request dated December 8th from them, asking to help facilitate the funding for this project. Their financing that they're getting is coming from Nation's Finest, which is VHDC's parent corporation. It's a nonprofit. They'll also be the service provider for the at-risk homeless veterans and families, and they'll also get money from services from the Department of Veterans Affairs, Butte County Veteran Service Office, and Butte County Health and Human Services Department. Their capital funding is coming from the Veterans Housing and Homeless Prevention Program, which is a grant program, American Red Cross. If this is approved tonight, it would be the Housing Program Fund, which is previously RDA Housing Set-Aside Funds, a home grant award, and then Butte County vouchers, VASH vouchers. The terms of the loan is during construction and through loan closing, which could be up to, whichever's first, the third year anniversary is deferred. They wouldn't bear any interest. And then after that, it's 3% interest for 55 years. And I had a question earlier from Councilmember Smith, and that is basically what it's, that's what we do. That's market. This loan proceeds are going to be used for pre-development, development, and construction costs, and the repayments will be residual receipts, which are limited to 20% residual receipts. So,
Council members, I know that sounds like quite a long term and things like that, but this is what is typical for affordable housing. This is what makes it affordable, is by giving these types of terms on this. The funding that's going to be used from this, I believe there's $3.5 million in this account right now, and it's reserved specifically for these types of projects.
that's great.
Councilmember Pittman, do you mind if we take the public comments first? Madam Clerk, do we have any?
Mr. Mayor, I do not have any public speakers on item 9.
Thank you. Councilmember Pittman.
Yeah, thank you. Just to reinforce, the VHDC is a group out of Reading, and they've had very good projects throughout the North State on veterans housing projects. They are the probably best group that's doing veterans housing, and we've done other projects with them in the past. We kind of stole this project from Chico, as this was supposed to happen in Chico, but the property price went so high they couldn't afford it. So I just say welcome. Thanks for coming to Oroville. They're investing in providing great housing for a very deserving population. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Hadley.
Thank you. This is a question. Before, I know that we had some issues with a sewer line or something down there that we were going to address one time, a choke point, or I don't recall exactly what it was, but I know that there was some kind of an issue. Did that ever get resolved when we were talking about the other project? Was it resolved at that time when all the work was done, or is that still a problem?
And that would still be a problem, I believe, that has to be resolved, but I will check into that, Councilman Hatley, and get back to you.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions from this dais? Having none, I'm looking for a motion to adopt resolution number 9011.
Second.
Motion carries with 7 yeses and 0 nos.
Moving on to item number 10, parcel creation of veterans housing.
Our city engineer, Matt Thompson, will be presenting this staff report via Zoom.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and members of the council, I want to apologize up front if you hear the cat. Don't know how to get her quiet. Sorry about that. It's a pretty simple issue before you. In order to convey property to those veterans at the corporation yard, we need to create a lot. The Subdivision Map Act allows you to do that with a simple resolution. Once you do that, I'll record a certificate of compliance. We'll incorporate it into a record of survey. That'll tie it all up in a nice little bow. And whenever you're ready, we can convey it to whatever group, be it the veterans or someone else, whenever the council deems that appropriate. That's my report.
Thank you. Do we have any questions from the public on this item?
Mr. Mayor, I do not have any public speakers on item 10.
Do we have any questions from this dais? Having none, looking for a motion to adopt resolution number 9020.
I so move. Second.
Motion carries with 7 yeses and 0 nos.
Moving on to item number 11, task order with North Star Engineering to draft small lot development standards for South Oroville and environs under agreement number 3387.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council.
Yeah, there you go. Microphone.
Is it on?
No, sir.
There you go. Yep.
Oh my gosh. Okay. There you go.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, Wes Irvin, city planner. This work authorization or this task order is to ask North Star Engineering to look at the zoning development standards for South Oroville. Out of the 1,400 lots that are there, about 638 of them are underneath the 5,000 square foot minimum for an R1 zone, and they're all zoned R1 down there. This is part of the South Oroville Southside Revitalization strategy that we kicked off in late 2018 and was truncated in 2019 when COVID hit. So we're now able to get that started up again. The contract is for $12,840, and most of it or all of it might be authorized under the SB2 grant or the LEAP grant that we have. So we're going to try and fit it all in there. At least $4,700 will be grant funded. Mark Wolf from North Star Engineering is here. He would be doing the work, and he's here if you have any questions.
Mr. Mayor and Council, what this will do, the process for this will be is once these standards are developed, they'll be brought back to you for final adoption. What this does for the area is that takes those 638 lots. Now, they don't need special variances or anything else. They are now able to be built on because they'll have different setbacks and different building standards that are placed onto those specific properties because of the size. What this does essentially for the area is it makes it buildable and it revitalizes the area because now you can put something on there with not an onerous process through the city in order to get the necessary variances to build on a smaller lot. So this is really a key component to the redevelopment of that area.
Madam Clerk, do we have any questions from the public on this item?
Mr. Mayor, I have one public speaker, Bobby O'Reilly. Mr. Mayor, there are no other public speakers on this item.
Councilmember Smith.
All right, I think Mr. Hatley's performing.
He needs to
Yeah,
take this out.
appreciate the presentation and I think thinking outside the box. So just a couple of questions. I think a lot of those lots down there are right around 4,000 square feet roughly.
4,781 square feet. Yes.
Okay. So just in thinking in terms of like different ideas about creating, you know, an area that aesthetically would look pleasing, zero lot lines, a lot of different, I think, ideas. I don't know if there's like a cookie cutter or there's different approaches that could be presented to us, like, you know, 1, 2, or 3, or, you know, kind of what the thinking is
I
in
think,
respect to this.
Councilman Smith, if you're asking about what will be built on the property, you know, I think we can probably establish building standards. I think this is just to get the properties to the condition where we can do that. And then I think once we get those standards back, then I think, that would be the time to say, hey, this is add those thoughts to that part of that process. But if you're looking for like what the structure is going to look like, I mean, I understand what you're saying, trying to get some conformity look. I mean, I think that's a little further down the road than where we're at right now.
Right, just
with this
general
part.
concept. My other life, I was a general contractor, so I mean, I appreciate, I understand all the dynamics, but I was just kind of, interested in kind of like what the thought process was, because, obviously we have minimum standards with square foot and what that looks like as a community and a developing a community that's something that's attractive and yet can handle the issues with the smaller lot sizes. I was just wondering if in that process that this North Star is doing, if there were some different, or it's just dealing with it, just purely getting it done so we can just approve it and simplifying the process.
Well, there is a precedent here in the city, and that's in the downtown overlay, historic overlay. There are a number of different house configurations and setback type configurations, alley loaded garages, townhome configurations and such. So we've asked them to start with that to see how applicable that is or might be to Southside. And so there is that precedent that we're actually starting with, which has a lot of those features that you're looking for and talking about.
I think it's a great idea. I mean, anything to make it sellable and buildable, let's get it done.
Councilman Smith, building on your idea, I think that, one of the things that we may look at doing is taking exactly what you're saying, 3 different models that fit onto that property and saying, pre-approve those, get those get all the engineering done and things like that is necessary, so that if you own one of those lots and you want to build A, B, or C, you come in and you pull the permits for B. And it's all done. I mean, it's just, it's a much cleaner, quicker process which will give you the look that you're looking for. So I think that's a great idea. We just have to develop that a little bit more down the road.
Thank you.
Councilmember Pittman.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate the presentation. And I know the scope of work is to look at lots and those properties. But I'm also, hopefully, maybe the engineer will have a suggestion on what to do on Elgin Street. Elgin Street is a huge problem. And part of it's not been ever accepted as a city street, and the quality of life living there is just frankly the shits, and I don't like it. And I'd like to see what suggestions the engineer may have for that particular property and the adjacent block directly south of that.
Councilman Pittman, that will not be part of this project. This is not anything that would have anything to do with that. But what I can remind you of, if we haven't told you or informed you of, there is a topography study that is going on to address exactly what you're talking about.
Good.
If it's the direction of the council, we can also have another task order to ask our engineers and our planners to figure out how we go about taking into city inventory a street that does not meet city standards because of something that happened in 1920. It's it is quite a challenge. I mean, I'm not laughing at their situation. I'm just laughing at how it's allowed to go on for 100 years.
I just want the door open for any suggestions that we may have from anybody.
So maybe we can ask Ms. Nevers if she could have Mr. Thompson prepare another task order to look at that, because it is high time after 100 years that we probably take a look at that and see what we can do.
Absolutely. We'll put something together.
Councilmember Goodson.
Since Councilman Smith had brought up something that really isn't supposed to be a part of this conversation, but we made it that. And so I wanted to piggyback off of what you said and then clarification. So I think that's a great idea. 3 basic floor plans. My question is this solely housing? And when I say housing, I mean restricted to built, not modular or trailers on these lots.
I think that's a fairly simple question. I'm very simplistic. Wes is very technical.
Okay, that's all I'm asking for.
You can do it now, so you'll be able to do it then. Modular housing will be allowed. I mean, that's my understanding of the code now, so nothing's going to change. Of course.
Unless we enact a revision of policy.
Unless the council changes, says that modular housing is no longer or
And I
allowed.
didn't hear you mention trailers.
They're not called trailers no more. They're modular housing.
The city council approved a month or so ago a revision to the manufactured home standards, which tighten them up so that it's much harder to put a mobile home on a lot. So in the future, any new manufactured home will have to be on a permanent foundation. It'll have to be 10 years old or newer. It will have to look like a house, not a trailer, and a number of other things. So that's part of what the requirements will end up being. But that has been acted upon, and so we'll see no new just trailers popped in down there.
And I think to get further to your question, travel trailers or tow behinds like you would take on vacation and things like that, they're not allowed now. I mean, they were allowed after the Paradise Fire as a temporary housing ordinance and approval, emergency disaster type relief situation, but it is not allowed on a regular basis. Matt Thompson, our engineer, has his hand up.
I did have a suggestion regarding the Elgin Fort Wayne situation. Staff could go ahead and do a straw poll of the property owners to see what their interest would be in cooperating in rededicating right away or a storm drain easement, so that if we did figure out what to do there, we would have the legal right to get in there and work. Could be done parallel with other activities, and I don't think it'd be that much to just ask the question.
That's a good idea.
Thank you. Councilmember Smith.
Yeah, Wes actually just answered, that's what I was going to bring up, that we passed a more strict ordinance when it came to manufactured housing. It had to be look like essentially a stick-built house. So I think we kind of handled that pretty well. So thank you.
Okay, if there are no more questions from the dais, I'm looking for a motion to approve a contract with North Star Engineering for $12,840 to draft small lot development standards for South Oroville and other locations.
So moved.
Second. I do have one more question for you, Wes. When will those meetings start up again at the South Side AEFCC?
We had talked about getting an advisory committee, an informal advisory committee together of opinion leaders in the area. And we have a list started, and we're going to invite a number of them, and we're going to get those invites out this month.
All right.
So we get this going.
Thank you.
Again.
Councilmember Goodson, you haven't voted.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Motion carries with 7 yeses and 0 nos.
Moving on to item number 12, professional services agreement with Trover Construction Project Management, LLC.
Good evening, Mayor. I am asking you to consider a professional service agreement with Trover Construction Project Management LLC to perform our owner-occupied rehabilitation program. They will be the person who will be going out to the properties and doing work write-ups and doing inspections and signing off on all the inspections for us. Our housing rehabilitation program has been silent for the past few years, so we're very excited to get it going again. We had a little bit of trouble getting anyone to respond to our RFP. We put out the RFP 2 times, first in July and then again in October. We received 1 bid for each time. The first one didn't pan out with the hourly range, and then and the state required that we go out again when we only received 1 bid. So Trover was the only one that submitted this last time, but we were very happy with their bid. They're currently doing some work for the city also, and we've got very good reports on how they're handling our safety billing. So, do you have any questions?
Do we have any questions from the public on this item?
Mr. Mayor, there are no public speakers on this item.
Do we have any questions from this dais?
It's just
Councilmember Riggs?
I'm going to try to say this as nicely as possible.
Okay.
Can you explain what they actually do with what they actually do?
What
So like
the
will they-
contractor actually
are
does?
they going to actually be doing the work, or are they just being the inference like between a contractor and the individual?
Correct. So we used to have someone on staff that would do this for us, but we don't currently. So this person is going to, once we receive an application from a applicant, we will send them out to the property. They do a walkthrough. Our main things are health and safety issues that have to be fixed. There's a certain percentage of other items that can be done at the same time. They will do a work write-up, which includes all the costs of everything, estimates of what they are. And then we take that and we put it out to bid. And then other contractors will bid the project. And once they receive the bid, then they will be the one that will be signing off all the work and making sure it's done correctly, and then that will allow us to make payment to the contractor.
Okay, so they facilitate the rehabilitation,
facilitate-
they don't
yes.
do it.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
I
you
think
for-
not only do they facilitate it, but they also ensure that what we paid for is what we received. I mean, they will go out and ensure that those things happened. They're essentially our construction experts. I mean, we all believe that we are. These people, this is what they do.
And then
Called an owner's representative.
okay. And does this work similar to the first-time homebuyers program? In that the owner pays back the loan for the work done? Sorry, I haven't been around when this
That's okay.
program's
No, it's
alive.
similar. It's similar in that it is a loan and it is a 3% interest loan. But these could be, it depends on their income and their debt to income ratio and their housing expenses. And we look at that, and if, depending upon where they fall, they could be a fully amortized loan, a interest-only loan, or a deferred loan. And then we usually defer for 5 years, and then we reevaluate their income after 5 years to see if they can start making payments at that time.
Okay.
And I
Thank
believe
you.
I believe in the past too, and you can correct me if I'm incorrect on this, Amy, we've used this service in the past for when people are purchasing homes too, to have them go out and make sure that they what we're investing our dollars into is a worthy investment, that it does have a good roof, it does have the ceilings in there, the carpets, the thresholds aren't all destroyed and things like that. So
Well, with our first-time homebuyer loans, we do send out a city representative to go look at all of those, and it'll be two different people, but in the past, it was the same person.
Councilmember Smith.
Yeah, just kind of a housekeeping question. You mentioned RFP. Trover, they're the contractor from Sacramento.
I think they're out of Chico.
they're out of Chico.
Oh, they're Chico, okay, because I know there's one in
Right,
Sacramento.
we're using them right now as our owner representative at the public safety facility to ensure that we're getting the work that we are paying for.
So, because you'd mentioned, they're the only ones that responded, and so just as a matter of housekeeping, on the marketing of that, I know we post that on the city's website, but is there other tools that we're allowed to as a city to, hey, this RFP's out there? Because it's just, and I just think about travel. If it was Sacramento, I'm thinking, just travel time alone, you're in it an hour and 3 hours, adding to the overall cost, and you'd think there would be local contractors that, if they're aware. Sometimes it's just a matter of not being aware of these opportunities. And so I was just kind of curious what we do in the way of marketing, messaging to the general community. Hey, we're doing this.
Right. We put it on our Facebook page. We put it in the newspaper. We put it on our website, and we also send it through the clearinghouse and through, is it open bid?
Public purchase.
Public purchase.
And Valley Contractors
And Valley
Exchange.
Contractors, so that goes through to everybody. Everyone's busy right now. And this is, the projects can be a headache when you're dealing with different property owners. So it's more of a project manager, not in a large scale.
I would imagine for efficiency's sake, we wouldn't have them run over and do a half-hour deal. We would set up a few, so it'd be worth our travel time. I know that workers, there's a lot of jobs that I pass up every day just because there's no workers. So, if there are no other questions from this dais, I'm looking for a motion to adopt resolution number 9010.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Motion carries with 7 yeses and 0 nos.
Okay, moving on to reports, discussions, and correspondence. Does anyone on the council wish to announce or report anything? Yes, sir. Councilmember Hadley.
Thank you. I'm just kind of curious. I called City Hall last week and went through about 4 different things. I didn't have my card with me to tell me exactly what number I needed to call inside city to get a hold of somebody. And it was, you know, if you want this, press that and listen to these options. And by the time it got all said and done, I'd spent about 15 minutes listening to nonsense that I didn't need to listen to. And I was just thinking, if it bothered me that much, I can imagine what it would do to our citizens who call call City Hall, and you've got to go through a list of stuff. I understand that you know, we have shorthanded problems and that kind of thing, but the thing is, we always try to pride ourselves on customer service. To me, this is not good customer service. That's just me, and I'm not faulting anyone. It's the times, I understand that, but I wish there was something we could do to look into this that might possibly, we could maybe shorten that list or something, that when somebody calls here, and you just call the main number, you may not know exactly what department you want to talk to. You may have the person in mind, but then it'll say, well, press this for this department and get a list of names. Well, if you do that, now you've got to go through this menu again. And it just seems to me that I would hope there was some way we could just maybe kind of shorten this up a little bit to make it work a little better.
You try pushing 0? That's what I do. Just push 0. It'll take you to an operator. We will look into that to see what we can do to streamline that and maybe, you know, branch it out a little differently and see what we can do.
I'm not faulting you. I'm just saying that.
No. We don't, and don't take it that way. I understand the frustration of dealing with those things too. I do not like to listen to 8,000 things here. That's why, and I'm not kidding, I immediately push 0 to see what will happen. Or, I'm sorry, no, on the phone it is a 0. So I push 0 to see what will happen, and typically you get somebody. You know, so but we will look and see what we can do about that, Councilman Hatley, to reduce that and pare it down to maybe 5 selections, and you push 1 through 5 or something. We'll figure it out.
And I found if it doesn't work the first time, you keep pushing 0 over and over again until
first. Or the phone breaks.
Councilmember Smith.
No, I'm good.
No.
Councilmember Pittman.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment. I'm reading all the letters from FERC about the improvements being done to the project here with the Lake Oroville and the Bidwell Marina and the After Bay and the Forebay and the powerhouse. And now it just dawned on me that they now are going to put in a prefabricated metal staircase at Bidwell Canyon so that instead of sliding down the hill, you'll be able to use a staircase. So after 50 years of the lake being there, we've made progress, I guess. I'm just being a little facetious. Wow, we've got a metal staircase now for the marina so that when the water's low, you can not have to hold on a rope and slide down the hill. That's progress. Thank you.
Anyone else? Having no one, future agenda items.
I did have one.
Councilmember Smith.
I apologize. I was just mentioning that. So International Sportsman's Expo, Oroville is going to be represented this year in Sacramento. And if anyone, any community, nonprofit has information that you'd like to make available at that event, let me know.
Councilmember Goodson.
Yes, future reports, future agenda items. I would like to put on an upcoming and very soon agenda, a committee that will be formed to address the issues confronting the Oroville Southside community.
Would that be separate from the committee that Wes was indicating earlier, or
Yes.
congruent with?
That's a rezoning. Yes, this is separate.
So there's on the agenda, am I allowed to talk to her?
Sure.
Oh, thanks.
No.
Well, I didn't press a button or anything.
Talk to me.
On the agenda item, it had the information about the about the rezoning. But then at the bottom of that staff report, I said that this is one of the steps of many for the South Oroville revitalization, which included the advisory committee.
Councilmember Riggs is correct.
Thank you.
So it is a committee to bring South Oroville to bring more ideas to South Oroville to build it up. So it's, as Wes said, it's a committee that was started back in 2019. It abruptly got halted because of COVID, and now we're wanting to bring it back. So Wes was just looking for more members of the South Oroville area to be a part of that committee.
So it was, so I was present at each of those meetings before COVID hit. And so what I am asking for is a committee specifically designed to address and speak into the blight, abandoned properties, and things of that nature. Now, I understand sidewalks and et cetera, et cetera. That would be a part of that committee that Wes is talking about. But this is specifically code enforcement blight.
Okay.
Actually, we have code enforcement on the next agenda. Who is going to speak on that? And they will be given a PowerPoint presentation of all the things that we're doing currently and in the past, in not just South Oroville, but the whole city of Oroville. And looking forward to that.
Well, I did recently take a little scoot around South Oroville and would agree that there are additional concerns as far as blight and garbage and trash issues within that community. And so I would like either for this advisory committee to be formed specifically to address the concerns in that area, or through the whole community with an emphasis in that area since it has been neglected, and for the advisory committee to discussed under item number 12, I think it is. Nope, 9, for that to also consider those issues within South Oroville.
Why don't we see what the code enforcement has to say about what we've been doing over there, because we're over there every day. And I don't see where a committee to micromanage them is going to. We only have so many resources and so many, we spend millions of dollars taking care of this. We're not going to hire a committee and start, or appoint a committee and start micromanaging them. Let's look at the presentation and see what a wonderful job they're doing. But I will tell you, in being involved in this for the last few years, whenever we've announced a cleanup there, it's becomes a transfer station for recology. So, and Councilmember Goodson and I were on the scene there on one of the cleanups, and she had brought it to my attention about the people filling up our dumpsters and throwing garbage on the properties that we're scheduled to clean up. So what we need to do, I think what a committee should be formed to do would be to bring the community together and let them know that we're doing everything we can. We can't turn it into a transfer station for recology.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do believe that there has been progress made. I think that it needs to continue to be a part of the conversation for the planning and development of our community.
And it is. So you're asking for that to what are you specifically asking for to be put on the agenda, Councilmember Goodson?
To really focus, hyper-focus, and address the continued blight, the abandoned structures, the burnout structures that have been there for years, and to see how we can expeditiously. So I'm not going to get into it. Bill, what I can do is connect with you later on at a more appropriate time, and I can, with specificity, speak to you about what that committee would look like.
Yes, ma'am.
So would you like to table that for now, and then you can speak with city administrator? Okay, if there, Vice Mayor Thompson, I apologize.
Oh, yeah, you're good. The only thing that I wanted to add on to that conversation is I think we're all on the same page on this council from the comments that I've heard throughout the years regarding the community that's south of Orodam Boulevard. I don't like to call them Southside because it feels like it's Oroville.
South Oroville.
It's Oroville. You know, it's all part of Oroville. But just a lot of comments, not just in this, and I'm not picking on your comment.
Pick on me.
No, I'm not. But through the years, when I've been here, there's been a continual comment that's made that South Oroville's been neglected, which I don't disagree with, but it sounds like when it's said that this council has neglected that community when it's only been in our jurisdiction recently as it's been annexed into the city. It's the county that has been neglecting that neighborhood. And so now that the city, and since the city has taken that area on as it should have, and as we did, that the city, in my perspective, has done anything but neglect that community. And it will continue to improve as the whole city will as well. So I just want that we haven't, this council has not, I don't put any fingers on anybody on this council or previous councils that councils have neglected that neighborhood, because that's the opposite of what I've seen. There's been a lot of energy and resources put in that area since it's been annexed in. So just want to throw out there, you know.
Well, thank you, Scott, and I would agree with you, and it is
Yeah,
a
I know.
historical issue, not a recent.
Exactly.
So thank you for helping to clarify that.
No, yeah, you're just not correcting you, just
Oh, yeah.
something that people put out there.
Councilmember Pittman?
Yeah, just to go on what Councilman Riggs was saying, I think what the simple thing is the Revitalization Committee just, and I don't know if we have any council members on that committee or not, but maybe we should just decide to have a certain amount of council members on that committee to help with the overall project. So I don't think we have an assigned amount or any councilman assigned to it, but it just makes sense to me that we ought to have at least a couple council members there for that to listen to the concerns and bring them forward. So that seems to be the simple thing to do, is just a suggestion.
Okay.
Thank you. On to administration reports. Mr. LeGrone.
Just wanted to wish everybody a happy new year, and I hope you had a restful and good holiday. In front of each of you, you should have a copy of the Oroville City Council Community and Board Assignments for 2020-2021. If you would please, over the next week, look these over and see if you're content with the committees that you're on, and if you want to remain on those, that's fine. If you would like to be on others, please mark this and return this to me. I will then forward these to the mayor. The mayor will make his appointments, and then the council, this will be back to council on the 18th for ratification and acceptance of those appointments. So I'd like to get that piece of housekeeping done if we can at the next council meeting on the 18th.
Chief Tens. Dawn.
Nothing for me.
Mr. Hubert. Okay, with that, we will adjourn until January 18th, 2022 at 4 p.m. Meeting